Alright, so I played a game recently called Blood Money. It is written well. Definite recommendation. It's about a magic gangster fighting for the control of a family with the two sisters after matriarch passes away. Who can say no to a premise like that? I mean, how cool is it? Absolutely awesome. So first of all, I've enjoyed how well it was written. Meaning not particular writing finesse or depth of metaphors and the like, but instead the approachability and the simplicity of it. I've tried to get into one other game recently called Wraith of a Sentinel, or Wraiths, whatever. That game is written by an alien. Seriously, I have no other explanation. I cannot get into it despite trying at least 5 separate times. Then there is Luminous Underground, where I time and time again tried, but there was just nothing keeping me there except for a premise. Barraged with paragraphs of text over and over again, and I just completely lost interest. Here everything flows perfectly simple enough, with interesting events, gritty, dark and sufficiently weird. So for the most part I've liked everything. It's just nothing was amazing. It's good, just not the best. Sometimes there were choices given which were 1. Do a thing. 2. Do a thing and be mean about it. 3. Do another thing. 4. Do a thing and say how much you love your family. Since it's about a mafia family, this isn't as bizarre as it sounds. Whereas don't do a thing option. Situations like that happened quite a few times, and I don't think it was a big deal. For the most part I've gravitated toward the choices given, and wasn't too torn up about the lack of a 5th. But it is worth pointing out that the variety is somewhat lacking. Another example, Alexis's whatever situation. Once she was beaten, she could be killed, imprisoned, exiled, killed but differently, or something else entirely. Something else like this, I mean. She would be gotten rid of. Whereas talk to her and try to make her come to your side. Whereas some sort of negotiation. Hell, it doesn't even have to work. Maybe make it so it doesn't matter what you did prior to this or how good you are. She just does not work with you, if you pick that choice. This, after all, are a great thing to have, but no option, none of that. Just forgotten completely afterwards after I imprisoned her. Basically all the choices lead toward the same exact thing. The magic is also a little weak, I will be honest. I was expecting a little more. Premise is just a bit of a lie. Every time the options boil down to investigating using ghosts, or wits, or my connections. There is not much synergy there. Maybe someone dead would make some choices easier. That stuff it kinda happens, but it's rare and somewhat irrelevant. I.e. there's very little benefit. This could be way more impactful. I assume it's to make it so the less supernatural choices don't pale in comparison, because you just always pick do ghost stuff instead of anything else. But I'm sure there could have been a more interesting way to go about it. And hell, the premise is a magical gangster. Why in the hell would you not pick magical options? Could have always added a bigger cooldown period on those and made it more difficult to just consult the ghost buddies instead of trying to balance it all. Oof. Another thing which I think is a little lackluster, allegiances. What would be cool is if you were betrayed by the people you refuse to kill. Or entirely opposite, have them help. But nothing reliable or predictable. So for example, at one point a certain person sells you out to the cops. You have a choice to kill them right there and then, or try a different approach. Would be awesome if that choice came back to bite the player in the ass. Say they ratted you out once, why not again? Damn the fact that you saved them, who cares? It does not have to be fair. There is a lot more freedom these games could offer. But writers seem a little too hung up on the player makes choice, player doesn't get punished randomly for it later. They are just so reluctant to make magical frogs kill the player after the decision made 5 minutes into the game. Oof. Again, this makes sense. It all does make sense. It's just, in a great game, the writer wouldn't pull punches like this. They roll with it and make something crazy happen. The ability to fail despite making all right choices. Or, at least on the surface, making right choices. That makes roleplay so much more interesting and so much more impactful. So, I liked it. It was an easy read. The choices had effects, the engine was meh, but I didn't expect too much and I got way more than that. A fun time in a criminally underused setting. Another thing I'd like to mention before the end is the fact that this is the same person who wrote Creme de la Creme. I've actually played Blood Money first, but now after having some perspective on both of these and Noblesse Oblige, boy is this a shift. Honestly, it does not feel like the same person wrote it. I dislike Noblesse, I enjoyed Creme quite a bit, and this one, definitely the best, if not for execution, then for ideas. And I just always wanted a good game about organized crime, yet For whatever reason, writers for choice of games love to avoid this particular subject. It's there in the background of a few games, but it's never a focus. It's rife for great stories, yet only she so far delivered, and that's something to praise. There do seem to be similar problems, but here at least the story leans a hell of a lot more on the premise instead of crime or noblesse. And in the other two, it's a lot more focused on the characters, their interactions and impact, which, well, makes for it more enjoyable, in my opinion.